You're listening to Just Hit Play with your hosts, Peter and Nick Cabral. If you're tired of your stagnant, streamed music feed, then strap yourselves in for an intergenerational sonic journey through Peter and Nick's favorite songs.
Welcome to episode 50. 50! We're up to 50. Isn't that crazy?
That is nuts.
Of Just Hit Play. I'm your host, Peter. With me is Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Doing well. Just moved into this new apartment that I'll be subletting in for the summer. Still in Guelph, but that was a hectic process. You never realize how much shit you have until you have to pack it all up and move it.
Yeah, as I was telling you off air, moving to Australia, I had to quickly decide what I needed in one suitcase. So my whole life, I shook everything off my pant leg and either sold or gave away and then left at your dad's house. Which I'm sure he's very happy about, and then moved here. Yeah, so it's moving's interesting when you're doing it across the world. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah, that sounds like something that I would really struggle with because I have an excessive amount of possessions.
I had a lot of books to the point where it's really hard for me to buy books. I buy a lot of audiobooks because I gave away so many books. Which was, I like you, I'm a big reader. So I tragically can't really buy books anymore because of that.
Just because of when you had to give them all away?
I just had to give them all away. It was like giving away, little trophies that I had finished reading, So now I just listen to audiobooks. So there's no, my shelf has a lot of room on it now.
Well, that's nice. You can put other things on there.
Yeah. I have this strange addiction to photography magazines, which is really pointless because everything is online now, but I still buy a photography magazine a week. So
well, you could say a lot of physical things are pointless now that everything's online. Like I collect vinyl records and you could say that's pointless, but it's nice to have things physically.
Yeah. So that's my little addiction. I still buy photography magazines back like I did when I was younger. So that hasn't abated.
Well, hopefully you don't have too many for when you have to move next.
No, I think a big call might be coming soon. So yes. And with us in our Brisbane studios is our sound engineer, Darren. Darren, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm a little tired today, Nick, and it feels like a Saturday to me because as we're recording, it's May the 4th. And I photographed a wedding today, and automatically because I photographed a wedding, it feels like a Saturday.
Right. Yeah. And wasn't today the Star Wars wedding?
It was the Star Wars wedding, yeah. So usually, because I'm a guy, I hang out with the grooms or the groomsmen, and I was at their house while they were getting ready, and I was taking pictures of them putting on their bow ties and all that kind of crap. And he showed me the lightsaber that he bought his soon-to-be wife. It was a replica Luke Skywalker lightsaber, and it changed colors to green to red to Mace Windu purple and all that kind of stuff, and he's doing the sound effects and swinging it around, and we were talking for about 10 minutes, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm here to take pictures. So I had to quickly I was like, can you do some of those again? So yeah, I was so engrossed in the lightsaber display that I forgot to actually photograph it.
That's incredible. So it was a good wedding?
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, they're fun kids, so yeah, it was a good wedding. Yeah.
Darren, it wasn't your Star Wars obsessed coworker, was it?
I do not know.
No, I'm going to say it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, but strangely, they're going to vacation. They're going to honeymoon in New Zealand, and they're going to do a Lord of the Rings tour. So so that's the kind of people they are. They're a little nerdy and geek obsessed with Lord of the Rings and Star Wars.
Both good franchises, to be fair.
Yeah, pretty good. I try to read. Well, let me rephrase that. I try to listen to Lord of the Rings every year. So I've done that for about 15 years now. Every year I try to listen to Lord of the Rings, the audiobooks, not the movies.
And how long does that take you to do?
I do a lot of driving. So I'm driving a lot to different places like photo shoots and things like that. So it's usually when I'm driving that I listen to the audiobook.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I can
so
see you getting through a lot then.
Yeah, I can usually get through one Lord of the Rings book in about a week and a half.
Not bad. I've tried listening to audiobooks in the car, but every time I get like 5 minutes in and then I think I'd rather be listening to music right now.
Right.
It's too bad. Yeah.
No, I also listen to a lot of audiobooks when I'm like editing photographs. So that's another big one for me, is because I can read, which I love, but I can also edit my pictures, which I have a lot of editing to do still. So now, before I forget, I want to tell you, Nick, about this cool YouTube series that I came across.
Sure.
They're called North American Scum, which is a pretty funny title.
Oh,
And
LCD sound system reference.
that is an LCD sound system reference. You're
I
absolutely
love
right.
it.
So the hosts are Matt and Julian, and each episode they discuss an album, and they go through each track, and they discuss what they like about it and what they don't like about it, and things like that. And I've watched 2 episodes. I've watched the episode about Radiohead's The Bends,
Yes.
which is a fantastic album.
Fantastic.
And the other one, I'm a big Ween fan. Remember, you got to listen to Mr. Would You Please Help My Pony?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they discussed the Ween album, The Mollusk, which is another one of my favorite albums. So it was cool. So I plan on listening to watching the episode a few more times, and I'll put the link to the YouTube page in the show notes. So please go to the show notes if you want to give North American Scum a shot.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be giving them a shot.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. It's a cool web series. All right, are you ready to get into some music?
Absolutely, I am.
Okay, now I got you to listen to Duran, New Moon on Monday. Now, let me clarify by saying this. This is definitely not the best Duran song, but you have heard Blame It on Rio, and you've heard like Hungry Like the Wolf. Like, they're bigger hits, So I wanted to go for a song that I personally love, that I think is really good, but not like Hungry Like the Wolf that everyone knows. So let's listen to a few seconds of New Moon on Monday. Darren, just hit play.
Shake up the picture, the lasers mixture with the dance on the eventide. You got me coming with answers, all of which I deny. I said it again, but could I please rephrase it? Maybe I can catch your eye. I couldn't really put it.
All right, so before we go into it and why I picked this particular song, Nick, what did you think?
Are you familiar with the term to be a merchant of something?
No,
Like,
go for it. What does that mean?
This may be very niche slang.
Yeah, do it.
But it's often used like when footy fans talk online. Like, for example, Cristiano Ronaldo. He's called a penalty merchant or a tap-in merchant.
Yeah,
Basically just something that just props you up and is like the biggest part of what you do and props you up. This song made me realize that Duran are chorus merchants.
Yep.
Or hook merchants.
Great hook in the song.
And that's pretty much all. Like, that is by far what they excel at the most, is having incredible choruses and hooks that are super, super catchy.
Yeah.
And this song made me realize that that's kind of the running theme through all their music, is they have these verses which are like meh, but then they build up to a crazy explosion and swelling in the chorus.
Yeah.
That just sounds fantastic, super catchy, lives rent-free in your head. And that's how I feel about this song pretty much. I think it's really good, it's really catchy, but it's pretty much carried by the chorus.
Yeah, no, and that's a great description of the song. It's got a crazy hook in it, and such a song that you can just sing and sing along to, because it's not that complicated at all.
No, definitely not. But it's fun to listen to. I really like it. The excellent usage of synths too. Something I really, really appreciate. So, all in all, I enjoyed the song, but I think I've got Duran finally figured out.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I never thought about it that way. But yeah, there's another song called The Reflex. I don't know if you ever heard that song.
Yep.
That has a very big hook in it as well. Wild Boys, another Duran song that's got a big hook in it. So yeah, I think you got that pretty good. So Duran to me is the perfect synth pop band that can still play instruments. They encompassed the perfect 80s sound where you have your synths, but still great musicians, and it was really unfortunate that they were sort of dismissed in my era as like a boys band, because they were all really good looking and they were in the height of fashion.
Right.
They always dressed really well and had these amazing videos. I think that was a disservice to them. I think they're a really good band. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with you. I can't speak on what their perception was in the 80s, obviously. But I agree with you that they're really good musicians. That much is very apparent if you take the time to just focus on the individual instruments that are in the song, the individual players and tracks. Everything's played really, really well. And I haven't seen many of their videos, but from the ones I have seen, they're pretty good too. So
And
I
that's
have to agree with you.
and that's what sort of set them apart. When Duran became really popular is when MTV was starting. And what they did is they went after film directors for their music videos, and they went after storytellers. And they also shot on 35 millimeter film, which is more the film grade, instead of like just like handy cams or what was being used like television film. And it showed like they were like, I don't know if you ever seen the video for Hungry Like the Wolf.
Yeah, I have.
It's set in this like remote location, and it's filmed beautifully, and you could tell they spent a truckload of money, flying the band to these places, and I think it was an Australian film director who directed that as well. But it just fit the 1980s perfectly in the MTV generation, and it was just played around the clock. So that is exactly what Duran excelled in.
I think my first real introduction to Duran came when I was pretty young. Like I was a kid, I'd say, in elementary school.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in the living room with my dad watching TV, and I think he was watching some sort of documentary or special on either Duran or specifically on the Girls on Film music video.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how I first got introduced to Duran. So since then, I've listened to Rio, The Reflex, Come Undone, Hungry Like the Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
These are all songs that I actually really, really love.
Yep.
And I've heard maybe 8 Duran songs total, but all of them I really like.
And Girls on Film was banned for many years. That would not be played on MTV for its sexual content.
I think that was sort of the main focus of the documentary.
Yeah. So that like they gained notoriety from that video because it was so sexualized. Whether it is or not, like standards obviously change as time moves on. I don't know if it'd still be banned video. I don't know if it's probably on YouTube. I don't think it's banned on YouTube or anything like that. But that's a good example of another way they gained popularity, is because it was like forbidden fruit.
Yeah, the what's that called? The Barbra Streisand effect?
Yeah.
Where if you try to make something go away or try to ban something, it'll just get more popular.
There was, I think it was Salman Rushdie who once said, they tried to ban Christianity and it became the biggest religion in the world. They tried to ban drugs and drug sales went up. And he goes, and now they're trying to kill me. So he goes, hopefully I'll sell more books now. Did you ever hear about the Salman Rushdie, how there was a fatwa put on his head?
No.
No, he wrote a book called The Satanic Verses, which did not paint Islam in a great light. And because of that, there was a fatwa put on his head, which meant the death sentence put on his head. And when you have a fatwa put on your head, it from a Muslim cleric, it then becomes the responsibility of every single Muslim. If they spot Salman Rushdie, it is their job to kill him. So he had to go in hiding for a while. And I think he's pretty living out openly now. But yeah, for a long time, there was security around the clock, and his whereabouts were always unknown. So yeah.
Who is this guy? I've never heard of him.
Oh, Salman Rushdie. He wrote a book called The Satanic Verses. He's a really great author. He's very hard to read. I read a book called I think it was called The Moor's Sigh. And it took me about a year to read the book. Not that it was a boring read, but every sentence was absolutely perfect, and it was infuriating. It was such a well-written book that I got angry how well written it was. So it took me a long time to finish that book. But yeah, he's still alive today. Yeah, he made some accusations about Islam, and it did not go over well in the Islamic world.
Yeah. Fair
So
enough.
yeah, don't ban things. They just become more popular.
Yeah, that's really the moral of the story. I
Yeah.
completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I guess we have to thank MTV for banning girls on film for blowing up Duran Duran even more.
I mean, they had everything going for them. Like I said, they could write a hook. They were very good looking, and they made some very good decisions when it came to music videos. Now, their heyday didn't last forever. I would say by the late 80s, they were sort of forgotten. So they had a good run for about 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And then it wasn't until Ordinary World came around that people were like, yeah, they were a really good band. But that was later on in the 90s when that song came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they didn't really get the shine or acclaim early in their career, but they got the numbers still, I would assume.
Yeah, like they were dismissed as a boy band early in the career, and then the girls loved them. They were so good looking. They were a very, very good pop band, but it wasn't until you could look back at their career and go, yeah, what a good band. Like I wasn't the biggest Duran Duran fan when I was growing up, but I can look back at them now and think what great pop songs they wrote.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think these guys were really my gateway drug into liking 80s pop music, new wave music, just pop music in general, being able to appreciate that as well-made music instead of, oh, it's pop music, it's just generic radio, blah, blah, blah. Duran Duran, I think is definitely something that opened my doors up a lot to that, opened my eyes, made me more willing to like things like new wave and synth heavy music. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, the big reason why the 80s was such a synth heavy decade is because synths became really cheap and easy to make. If you look back in the 60s and 70s, especially like the 60s when the Beatles were making records, synths were not cheap and they were huge. So the microprocessor stuff that was happening in the 80s became really handheld. And, we talked about that drum machine that was sold from the Human League. That would have been unheard of in the 70s. There was no way it could be sold. And it's a tiny, if you ever look pictures at, I think it's the Lynn drum. If you ever look pictures at it, it's a tiny box. So that's what make 80s music. It's the low price of synths that were coming out at the time.
I'm really glad that was the case because I love synths, 80s music, all that. I love it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. So if you think about the 80s, that's one of the reasons why, they have that sound was technology. Technology pushed the sound forward. And young bands like Duran Duran, like the Human League, could afford to buy these things, which they never would have been able to afford before that.
Yeah, and they were able to they were coming in with maybe a fresher mind. They had the ability to think of more creative ways to use this technology as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The new wave scene was really, especially coming out of the punk, so the post-punk sort of scene. The new wave was really lots of fun, and there were some terrible. Don't get me wrong, there were some terrible new wave bands. There was a band called Flock of Seagulls that were just awful and had the hair. I don't know if you ever heard of the Flock of Seagulls.
I have. What's their one song?
Iran.
Yes,
not the country Iran, but I ran. Their haircuts were terrible. Yeah,
I think I've actually seen a photo of them. The hair is bad.
Maybe when synths became cheap, hairspray also became really cheap. I don't know. Maybe there's a correlation there somewhere.
If you look at a graph, I'm sure there's a correlation.
Hairspray became cheap, and all of a sudden there was a hole in the ozone layer from the new wave sort of bands. Yeah, it's all correlated to new wave.
Yeah, I think we'll see that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm glad you're a big fan of Duran Duran because I don't think they really got the just desserts that they should have got in the 80s.
Well, like I said, I wasn't around to see how they were received in the 80s, and I came in with a totally fresh mind, open mind, and Yeah, I've always thought they're great. I really have.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Darren, what do you think of New Moon on Monday? Was that a particular favorite of yours?
No, I don't think I've heard it before, or if I have,
Oh.
I've never linked it to the title. So I know Duran, but not that one, I don't think.
No, I always dug that song. So that's always one of my favorite sort of deep cut Duran songs. Yeah. Cool. All right. We're going to get on to some Outkast, a band that I love. So Nick, tell us about your song.
Yeah. So Outkast should need no introduction. Rap super duo Andre 3000 and Big Boy from Atlanta, Georgia. They've cranked out numerous hits, nothing but classic albums. And the song I got you to listen to this week, SpottieOttieDopaliscious, is about as deep a cut as you can get from their 1998 album Equemini. So Darren, why don't you just hit play on this song? It's fantastic. Okay, so quite a big song, a lot going on. What did you think of SpottieOttieDopaliscious?
That 70s sound is so smooth. It is. And by the way, I think "dopalicious" is the most appropriate word in that song. Just the album cover alone, the album art, pretty much tells you what that song is, or probably what that album was about. This is definitely a song that you want to get high to.
Yes.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah.
It's. I was watching a reading, an Andre 3000 interview, and he said that he was in a phase of listening to a lot of reggae and Bob Marley when he was making this beat and this song. I think that's very apparent.
Yeah.
It screams just that reggae vibe.
Yeah, it's so good though. Like, isn't that the great thing about Outkast is they sound different than anyone. No one sounds like Outkast.
No, not only that, they were also capable of switching up their sound so many times, so often, and still feeling fresh and unique.
Yeah.
It's very impressive what Outkast is able to do over the course of their whole career. They have one of the best careers as solo artists, as the group together when they're making music together under Outkast. Yeah, phenomenal career. It's unbelievable.
Now it's Andre 3000, and is it is it Big Boy? What's the
Big Boy? Yeah,
Big Boy. Okay, yeah. Obviously Outkast's big hit is "Hey Ya," which sounds completely different than this song. But I love "Hey Ya" and I love this song. So, what a band! Like, if they're not the greatest hip hop band of all time, I don't know who would be.
The only competition I could think of would be Wu-Tang.
Yeah,
that's all I can think of.
Or maybe I don't know, or Tribe.
Or Tribe, yeah. Tribe. Yeah. This song is pretty spectacular. Like I said, it's a very deep cut. It's over 7 minutes long, so you'd never hear it on the radio.
Well, and that's another thing. How many rap songs are 7 minutes?
Few.
Yeah, but not many.
If the ones that are over 7 minutes, you don't hear them very much.
No.
They're not getting put on playlists. Spotify's not recommending them to you.
No.
Apple Music's not recommending them to you. I'm not hearing them on the radio.
No, the only long hip-hop song that I can think of, other than this one, would be that awful R. Kelly coming out of the closet sort of crap that he did, which was sort of like this. I think it was longer than 7 minutes. It was probably closer to 20 minutes, just 20 minutes of garbage. But that's the only other hip-hop song I could think of that's long.
Oh, wow. Okay, I might have to start showing you some longer hip-hop songs.
Maybe you will.
There's a lot of really good ones. Kendrick has one that's 9 minutes. Kanye has a few.
I could see
5-minute
Kanye
songs.
having a few. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see him having a few.
So, yeah, like I said, this song, Deep Cut, and this is, I think, probably the first Outkast song, other than Hey Ya and Miss Jackson, that I ever heard.
Yep.
And I have to give credit to my good friend Xander, who's been mentioned on this podcast before.
Yep.
He put me onto this song. He's a huge Outkast fan. So this is one of the many good songs and honestly bands that Xander's put me onto. So thank you, Xander.
He should have been hanging around with me in 1999 when I saw them in concert.
Yeah, I think I've told him that you saw Outkast live, and the look of jealousy on his face is unbelievable.
Yeah, well, they were like I said before. It's one of the loudest shows that I'd ever been to, and it was just Outkast. Everyone else, because it was a festival I went to, and everyone else is fine, but for whatever reason, Outkast really turned up the volume, and I had to go far away from the stage as I could. I was at the back of the venue. It was loud. Yeah.
They told their engineer to just crank it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard the story when you two were playing in Rome? The bass set off earthquake alarms.
No.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So there was earthquake alarms in Rome one time for a U2 concert, and you don't think of U2 as being a bass heavy like band?
Not particularly.
No. Yeah, they set off earthquake alarms one time in Rome. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So some very sensitive earthquake alarms.
Apparently, really good bass.
Good subwoofers.
Yeah. So tell me, what is your relationship with Outkast? Because obviously they're a band way before your time. Like, I saw them before you were born.
Yeah, they just have a very legendary reputation in hip-hop music and in the general discourse and discussion of hip-hop. They're sort of revered and regarded as these larger-than-life guys who cranked out incredible albums and then stopped and ended things on their own terms.
Yeah.
A few summers ago, when I was working from home, before that, when I had my first office job and I was just working at a computer 8 hours a day, I was able to wear headphones and listen to music while working. So I had music on nonstop. And I think one week I just got to work and I said, yep, I'm going to listen to all of Outkast's whole discography today for the first time this week. And I loved it. They've got nothing but good albums. They don't make bad songs.
No, so good. Such a good band, yeah.
And now Andre 3000 he's turned into a mystical figure. There's stories of people, if someone ever sees Andre in the wild, it's a big deal. He's so reclusive and elusive. So there's all these stories of seeing him at Starbucks and he's playing a flute or something. Or random shit like that. Just funny stories. And then he'll pop onto someone's song maybe once a year, once every 2 years, do a feature, never to be heard from again.
Now, he played, I don't know if you know this one, he played Jimi Hendrix in a biopic.
Really?
Yeah, he was Jimi Hendrix in a biopic about Jimi Hendrix, about his life. Because Jimi Hendrix had a very interesting life before he sort of became popular, and he sort of went around England, and he was in Vietnam and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, Andre 3000 played him in a biopic.
I'm really going to have to look into that. I love Andre. I love Jimi Hendrix.
One of the bad things about the movie is that they weren't able to secure any rights to Jimi Hendrix music. That's always a bad sign for a biopic when they don't have access, from the family, especially if they're deceased, from the family to play that artist's music. And that's pretty much what did the movie. And I've seen the movie. I thought Andre 3000 was fine in it, but it just didn't have any Jimi Hendrix music.
That is quite unfortunate.
Yeah. So they more dealt with the relationships in his life. And so it was more like that kind of movie instead of about the music.
Okay.
There is a famous scene where Jimi Hendrix was in England, and you know who Eric Clapton is?
I do.
Yeah. So Eric Clapton is this legendary guitarist. And someone talked Eric Clapton. This is in the 60s, obviously, so probably 67, 68. So someone talked Eric Clapton into inviting Jimi Hendrix on stage to play with him. And he had no idea who Jimi Hendrix was. And he didn't take it kindly to what Jimmy was doing on stage, because he couldn't do what Jimmy did on stage. And he might have, there's rumors that he stormed off stage. There's rumors that he left the stage because he was so in shock. So you'd have to ask Eric Clapton. I don't know if he'll ever reveal what exactly happened on stage that night, but he did leave the stage, whether it was in awe of Jimi Hendrix or whether it was in anger for what Jimi Hendrix was doing. No one really knows.
I'm of the opinion, and this may be a hot take, but I'm of the opinion that Jimi Hendrix is one of the best guitarists ever that the world's ever seen, just in terms of raw talent.
Yeah.
The things he was doing, that was capable of doing, and the things he thought to do were just unlike anything else that I've heard from that time. Yeah. And I think that's where him and Andre 3000 have a lot in common, because Andre is a very experimental guy. He never shies away from experimenting in his music. And he and Big Boy were pioneers of a lot of current hip-hop sound. Yeah. Just they were so influential in just getting a music scene established in Atlanta, Georgia. And today, Atlanta is
hotbed.
The hip-hop capital almost, it feels like. And just in terms of which artists are the most popular, it's all Atlanta.
Yeah, because
you have to give some of that to Outkast.
Yeah, because before then it was L.A., it was New York, and probably Philadelphia, Chicago were probably the bigger, like some of the bigger scenes, but nothing like Chicago and Philly. Because I'm thinking like Will Smith came out of Philly, the Roots came out of Philly. Like there's some bands that were coming out of Philly, but nothing like New York or L.A. That's where everything was. Yeah,
it was really just New York and L.A. You can have a few artists from other cities that you could point to and say are popular. There was no scene that was getting nationwide recognition other than New York and LA. Yeah. Until Outkast. They put a lot of our artists on. Killer Mike, he was part of Outkast's collective called the Dungeon Family. Yeah. That was their collective. Killer Mike, who he's been rapping forever. He's in Run the Jewels. Yeah. A lot of other great artists have come from the Dungeon Family. And they really put Atlanta on the map. So we have so much to thank Outkast for, other than the great music they've given us, like this song.
If I'm not mistaken, too, and I could be making this up, and if you know, please correct me. I think Andre 3000 and Big Boy met in high school and started the band from high school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's true. They've been friends since high school, and this song is actually about a club that they would go to when they were in high school. Yeah. It was like an underage, like teenager catered club, that type of thing. So yeah, the song's kind of just about them reminiscing on their high school days.
What a groove. Like the groove is absolutely unbelievable in the song. And yeah, you can tell it's reggae inspired and 70s inspired. It sounds so amazing.
Can you imagine the way Andre's eyes must have lit up when he found where that trumpet sample, whenever he stumbled across that, whatever music he was listening to, when he first heard that, he must have just had the biggest grin on his face, because the trumpets make the song, I think.
There's a really funny story about the Beastie Boys on how they used to go to like estate sales and like really dodgy places that sold vinyl just to pick up as much different vinyl as they could, just for samples and get some interesting sound. But it leaked out, and then when they would see the Beastie Boys showing up, prices would go up on records. So the Beastie Boys then had to start sending, other people to go in to buy records for them, because it got too much of a hassle every time like Mike D or Ad Rock showed up at a record store. So yeah, I can imagine the same thing happening with Andre 3000, trying to find those old vinyl records for great trumpet sounds or whatever.
Yeah, no doubt. And in case you're wondering what SpottieOttieDopaliscious means, Big Boy did an Ask Me Anything on Reddit where people can ask him questions.
Nice.
And he is on record as saying that it's Southern slang for, and this is direct quote, a girl that is super fine, bad, sexy, intelligent, and jazzy all at the same time.
Okay, there we go. I thought it was about drugs, so there you go.
Yeah.
It's about most songs are about girls, so I think that's apropos. Yeah.
Yeah, and Big Boy, he has the last verse on the track.
Yeah.
And it's all just talking about how he met his SpottieOttieDopaliscious angel in the club.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. No, yeah. I love Outkast so much. They're such a good band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great band, great song. If gun to my head, I'd probably say this is my favorite Outkast song.
Yeah. I would say it's up there for me too. This might be one of the best songs that you've had me listen to. So
really,
yeah,
I'm glad. And do you see now why I compared the Robbie Robertson song to it a little bit?
Yeah, totally do. Yeah, it's got a very, because I think the Robbie Robertson song has a very Southern feel to it as well, and it was written while he was in the South in America because they were fishing and using dynamite to fish, which is very Southern thing to do. So Southern. I totally get where you were coming from. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm really glad you like this song.
Yeah, love it.
Darren, what did you think of this song?
It's okay to listen to, but not a huge fan.
Fair enough.
If you get a chance, look at the album art for this song. The album art is so good. It's such a strong image. The album art that they chose.
Yeah, they have really good. This and ATLians. That's also really good album art, their other album.
Cool. That was good. I'm so glad you played that for me, so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Speaking of that, do you have a song for me next week?
I do, yeah. It's going to be called Relative Fiction by Julian Baker.
Nice, okay. And I'm going to get you to listen to a very special song that was released in 1980 called Rapture. That's the name of the song, by Blondie.
Rapture by Blondie. Got it.
Yeah. I'll tell you next week why it's a special song. It is a very important song in music history.
Okay. Wow, now I'm excited.
Yeah, Rapture by Blondie.
Also, just one fun fact that randomly popped into my head while we've been recording this episode. Do you know who Nardwuar is, the human serviette?
Yeah. Out of Vancouver, yeah.
Yeah, I love his videos. He interviews a lot of artists.
Yeah.
He did his 5th interview with Tyler, the Creator. Just came out. He's been doing his interviews for years.
Yeah.
And he mentioned in the interview, he tries to listen to 2 hours of music he's never heard before each day.
Oh, wow.
Tyler, the Creator, that is.
Tyler, not Nardwuar or whatever his name is.
No, Tyler, the Creator. He said he's listened to 2 hours of totally new music to him every single day. I thought that was just impressive as hell.
Hey, and you know what? That's kind of what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get, obviously we talked about this in the past where there's so much music that you haven't heard that is the older music, and there's so much music that I've ignored that is the newer sound. And that's why we do this podcast, to explore and hear new stuff. And we don't always agree. We don't always like it, but that's the great thing about this podcast.
Absolutely. We're broadening some horizons.
Yeah, because I don't want to be that guy. I don't have kids. And I have a particular friend of mine who's got 2 small girls. And when I went home one year, he's in Canada. When I went home one year, I told him I had tickets to Arcade Fire. This is before I knew you were a big Arcade Fire fan. And I said to my friend, I was like, "Oh, do you want to go see Arcade Fire?" And he goes, "I think I've heard of them." And he's a little bit younger than me. And I was like, yeah, they're a good band. I was like, what are you listening to now? And he goes, mostly the Frozen soundtrack. And he's like, have you heard it? It's fantastic. I'm like, no, I haven't heard it. He goes, hold on, I'll get my kids to sing it for you. And I'm like, no, that's all right. And his kids then went in and sang Let It Go, I think it was. And so because I don't have kids, I have not had a different element of music coming into my house. With your dad and you, obviously your dad was a big influence on the music you listened to when you were growing up. But at some stage you diverged and you started listening to your own stuff. And I'm assuming he's heard some of the music that you've played. I've never had that element of hearing something different in my house. So yeah, this has been really good for me.
Yeah, well, it's been good for me too, because there's a lot of stuff I have to catch up on, a lot of things that I just haven't heard.
this podcast could go on for 1,000 years. There's so many songs. Like there's, we haven't even talked about one-hit wonders and, movie soundtracks. Like it could go on forever, really.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
We'll never run out of material.
No.
No,
I mean, I've got in my main music library, I think 4,000 songs.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of that made after the year 2000.
Exactly.
Vast majority.
Exactly. No. Well, and that's it. There's new music being made every day, so we'll never run out of material. That's for sure.
No doubt. Nope.
All right. So let's go into this week in music history.
This week in music history.
All right. In 1973, unfortunately, Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree is still number one, which was by Dawn. I have no idea who Dawn is, and featuring Tony Orlando, who I think would show up a lot on Love Boat. Have you ever heard of the TV show Love Boat?
No.
Let me tell you a funny story about Love Boat. Okay, so the whole TV show is about this boat, like this cruise liner, and every episode they'd be going to a different port, and there'd be different people coming on this boat. So you had to have a lot of guest stars. You had the main characters were like the people on the boat, like Captain Steuben, I think his name was, and like Grover and all these main characters on the boat. But every week you'd get these new people getting on the ship, and I think Tony Orlando was on the ship a couple times. Do you know who Tony Danza is?
Only because people saying that Elton John is saying Tony Danza, not
right, Little
Tiny
Dancer.
Dancer.
Yeah, Tiny Dancer. Sorry,
that's the only reason I've ever heard of him.
Well, let me sum up the 70s for you. Tony Danza is an Italian-American actor. Let me repeat that again. He's an Italian-American actor. On Love Boat, he played a full-blooded Japanese man.
Oh.
On his way back to Japan to see his parents that he hadn't seen in a long time. Not half Japanese. Not adopted Japanese. Full-blooded Japanese person played by Tony Danza. That sums up the 70s. He was ethnic enough.
That's so messed up.
He was ethnic enough. He's Italian. He'll pass for Japanese, no problem. There you go.
God.
That's the 70s for you. No, I wish
left it in the past.
I wish I was lying to you, but it's on YouTube. It's pretty funny. If you ever do Tony Danza Japanese Love Boat, you'll see it. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So instead of listening to that was long-winded. Sorry about that. So instead of listening to Tie a Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree, I found a really cool song. So this was number 2. It was by a band called War, which I love War. And this song is called Cisco Kid. Listen to this song. Darren, just hit play. What a groove. Great song. I'd never heard that song before. So Cisco Kid by War, it's now on my streaming. I've actually added that to my streaming playlist. So
yeah, really that bass line is fantastic.
So good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. In the year 2000, it's still Maria Maria by Santana. This is like, I'm getting PTSD from remember what the year 2000 was like and this song being number 1 forever. Okay, so we're not going to listen to that pile of crap. So we're going to listen to instead the number 17 song, which was by the 504 Boys with a Z, called Wobble Wobble. They're based out of New Orleans. The only 2 members of the band, 504 Boys, that I knew were Master P and Mystical. The other members of the band are named Silk Shocker.
Oh, Silk the Shocker, yeah.
Or Silk the Shocker, yep. C Murder and Crazy with a K. I don't know any of those people.
I know, I've heard of Master P, Mystical, and Silk the Shocker.
Yeah. The other people I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wobble Wobble's interesting. It's not my favorite hip hop song that I've ever heard. Master P had an interesting career. He was really, really popular. Sold a truckload of records, but I don't think he's around much anymore. I think he's left the music scene pretty much.
Yeah, no, he's not active.
No, I didn't think he was. Yeah, I don't know who won this week. I'm going to say the Cisco Kid because I really dug that song and I never heard it before. So I'm going to go with the Cisco Kid this week.
I'm down to go with that. Let's go with that.
Cool. All right. Now, I forgot to tell you. I think I'm going to Perth later this year.
Perth. Oh,
because
what's the occasion?
United just announced that they're actually playing 2 games. They're actually playing 3 games in Australia. 2 games in Melbourne. Then after Melbourne, they're going to Perth.
Wow.
So I think I'm going to follow them and go to Perth.
Are they playing like another club team, or are they playing Australian teams?
The 2 games in Melbourne, they're playing Melbourne United, I think, in one game. And then the second game, I think they're playing Leeds.
Oh, nice.
And then in Perth, I think they're playing Aston Villa.
Okay. Oh, nice. Say what's up to Stevie G for me.
Yes, that'd be. I'll throw something at Stevie G. And I got really. So I'm second row from about midfield in Perth. So I got some really cool tickets. I'm second row from the field. Yeah,
that's incredible. Actually,
yeah.
Damn, they just announced that Bayern Munich and Man City are playing a friendly at Lambeau Field.
Oh, get out! That'd be fun. Lambeau's huge.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a crazy place and a crazy game to go see?
Yeah, Lambeau Field is huge. Yeah.
If I was a Bayern or City fan, I would probably try and make the trip, but it wouldn't be worth it.
Well, where they're playing in Melbourne is called the MCG, which is the Melbourne Cricket Ground, and I think that seats 100,000 people.
Wow.
Now the question begs: why are 100,000 people going to a game like cricket? But that's a very, that's a mean thing to say about Australians and Australian sport. I don't get cricket. It is the most boring game that I've ever seen. Yeah.
Darren, where do you stand on this?
All sports ball games are boring.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Darren doesn't like sports.
At least you're consistent.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, why you need 100,000 seat stadium for cricket? I don't know. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But it should be fun. So yeah, I'm going to follow United around Australia for a couple of weeks.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be really, really awesome.
And I'm happy for you. We get to go to an island. There's an island off the coast of Perth called Rottnest Island. And on this island, it has something called a quokka.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of these guys.
Yeah, so they're not found anywhere else other than this island. And they have no natural predators, so they routinely just take selfies with people because they're not afraid of anything. So they're little tiny little kangaroo sort of marsupial sort of characters. So if you ever want to see something, if you're not from Australia and you want to see something really interesting, just type in quokka selfie, and people just take selfies, and because the way their faces look, it looks like they're smiling in the pictures. Yeah, so. We're going to go to Rottnest Island and take some pictures with some quokkas.
When you see United, if Ronaldo is still on the team, and if he plays and he scores, are you going to do the C with the stadium?
I don't know. Well,
I think you have to. You got to hit the C.
See, here's the problem. It's a World Cup year, and
it is
a lot of times people that play in the World Cup don't go on tour with their teams. I guess
that makes sense.
I guess it depends how far Portugal go. If they get knocked out of the round robin, or not the round robin in the group stages, maybe Ronaldo will go. But they also need a break. The
World Cup's not till December though.
Oh, that's right, because it's in Qatar.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ronaldo will probably be there then. Yeah.
Nice. You got to hit the C. You have to.
Now, okay, so I know we're going long, and I'm really sorry, Darren, but as
episode 50. It's episode 50. It's okay.
As a Portuguese person, even though you're not a United fan, are you a Ronaldo fan? Is it only when he's playing for Portugal?
I want Ronaldo to do well.
Yeah.
Ideally, every game, Ronaldo gets a hat trick and United still lose.
Well, yeah, that's pretty accurate this year. Yeah, we're not doing well. Yeah.
I always want Ronaldo to do well.
Yeah.
Always has a special place in my heart just because he's literally the national hero of Portugal.
Yes.
But yeah, I can't cheer for United to win. So
No,
it's a
I
tricky
get you.
situation I find myself in.
Yeah. Let's see how Portugal does in the World Cup. So I guess this might be Ronaldo's last international tournament at 37. I guess.
I was talking with one of my friends about this, and I think he'll play in the next international tournament
The Euros.
after this. Yeah, I think he'll play in that, and then I feel like he's gonna have one last tournament where he's just a super sub and comes on in like the 70th minute to run around and try and get a tap in or something.
Yeah. No.
Try and poach a goal.
Yeah, I'm excited. I totally forgot that it was getting played in December. I was ready for the summer. Well, winter here, but I was ready for it.
Yeah, they're worried about the heat stroke.
Yeah, I guess in stadiums built by slaves, that would be an issue. Yes,
and in the desert,
yeah,
the literal desert. Yeah,
yeah. No, I get that. All right. So before Darren kills us, let's move on to our independent artist.
Yes.
Our independent artist this week is a band called Under the Rug. I found this band on Instagram, and I must say I kind of really dig this band. The song we're going to listen to is "Dear Adeline." So they're an independent band based out of LA, but are now living in Texas. I believe they're in Houston. And what a sound. The singer's got a really cool voice, and I kind of really dig this band. So I hope you like them too. As we've said in previous podcasts, independent music is really everything to us. If you like any of the music that we play on the show, please, look for them online, follow them on Instagram, shoot them a link, listen to them on Spotify or whatever your playlist is. It's important that we get our independent artists paid. So Nick, we'll talk to you next week.
You got it.
And let's hear Dear Adeline by Under the Rug. Thanks, Darren.
Dear Adeline, are you surprised to hear from me now? The neighbor's been quiet since Mama died. All is closed down for good. So I've had a long, long time to think of this, what I would say if I could ever reclaim a voice that once was my own, that you took away until now. A smoker sings through a hole in his throat. A rotten bird is cooking on the road. Oh, Adeline, are you surprised to hear from me, dear? Out from your phone, through snows of wires into your ears. Easy.
been listening to Just Hit Play. To contact your hosts, Peter and Nick, or to be featured on an episode as musical talent, email justhitplay7300@gmail.com. Keep up to date with news and announcements by following on Instagram and Facebook, linked in the show notes. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher to tune in next week for more sonic delights. And if you can't wait till then, check out the Just Hit playlist on Spotify, linked in the show notes. A special thanks to Braden Munch for the theme song, and thank you for listening.